countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, and it is now time for more of the last comic shop podcast. Hey,
that is right. We are opening up the shop to newbies to help them find their way underneath this comic book tent, even if they have gray hair and feel like there's nothing to live for in the world.
That's right.
Wow.
We're keeping the door open for the oldies and the moldies, as long as they don't tell me this book was their favorite book, because it's not that good. It's not that good. I'm telling you right now. I'm getting off. Right off the bat, it's a 275.
It's a 275. Talk about spoilers. Man, this has got to be like a January show. This is the dead of winter. We got folks that need to be cheered up. And luckily, we got folks on this show that are ready and willing to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson. I've been cheering up these guys for years. That's J.A. Scott and Chad Smith. And hopefully helping me keep the energy up, keep the excitement up, keep things moving towards that end goal of that 2.75 that Chad has alluded to. We've got George from Shortbox Summary. Yay!
I'm confused. I don't think 2.75 is like that bad of a rating. Like, you say you don't think this book is that good. I think 2.75, like, it's more than half. Like,
no, yeah, I totally agree. It's a fine book. Like, there's good parts to it.
Yeah, like 275 is like, making your box office back at the movies.
It's not.
Andy, we're really putting the cart in front of the horse right now. I'm sorry, but I like that part bothered me. I'm like, 275. This is solid. That's really good.
That's a manageable grade. That is above average.
It's like a Zack Snyder movie. No, do it again.
No.
Please.
No, it's like an Adam Sandler movie.
Closer.
Either way, you're going to have to reboot the franchise.
All right. If you're wondering what book we're talking about this week, it is Kingdom Come. That's right. This is part of an effort by the host with the most, Andy Larson, to get more of those books that people want to read on our show. Whether people like them or they don't like them, Kingdom Come is a very well-known comic book out there in the marketplace. It was put out in a variety of different formats. You can now get it in one of those compact editions, which are lovely. I love those.
Those are great.
Those compact series from DC, they keep on putting out the hits. And so you can pick that up in one of these compact editions, which is great for those folks that may have never read it. And we're hoping, though, that you've read it, and that you've come ready for some conversation today. But before we get to that, as always, when we have George on the podcast, we like to get what was going on in pop culture around the same time that the comic book we're reading this week was released. And so without further ado, I think this is what month and what year, George?
So I was able to determine that issue 1 of Kingdom Come came out May 8th, 1996. And so every issue came out June 10th, 1996, July of 96, and then the 4th issue was August 10, 1996. What's really impressive, man, we got an Alex Ross book appearing on a monthly schedule. How sick is that? How good is Alex Ross art? And to hit it monthly, that's beautiful. It's brilliant. Good job, Alex.
Well, you do know he started 2 years earlier, right?
For sure, yeah. But they also just
they waited until it was ready. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great call. Who could have seen that coming? Who thought? Who'd
have thunk it?
Let's start with the box office, because there's just some great movies here. I'm going to burn through some of these pretty quickly. I think the top 5 are really interesting. Number 10, James the Giant Peach, the stop motion animation. James the Giant Peach. I remember seeing that in theaters. Yeah.
That's very clever. And I love the animation, that old school animation too, back when they used to really
so good.
Stuff.
I don't like Roald Dahl.
What do you like? Hush.
He's creepy.
You're creepy. What's number 9?
Number 9 was The Birdcage.
All right. Fair enough.
That's fun. Yeah. Robin Williams. That's for Nathan Lane. First time I remember Nathan Lane stepping out.
Number 8 was Flipper, the dolphin movie where the kid moves to Florida and befriends a dolphin off the coast.
That was
Bad
a
boys
movie?
polluting. Yeah.
You're thinking of Echo the Dolphin, the Genesis game.
Willie,
I am
the orca Disney movie.
that too. Either one of those, even the television show. I understand that Flipper is a thing.
Mhm.
It's just I didn't realize there was a movie Flipper. Like this is
Right.
Or Sequest DSV. Maybe you're
Or the one with that one-armed girl with the sharks, the
No.
surfboard.
Let's move on. What do we got next?
Number 7, a movie very near and dear to me, Spy Hard. The Leslie Nielsen spy movie.
Oh, right.
And I think Weird Al Yankovic did the Spy Hard intro theme song, like a James Bond movie. Incredible stuff.
So basically Naked Gun 4, but they didn't want to do
No, with spies, it's different. It's a spy movie.
Spies like us.
Number 6, Primal Fear, the Edward Norton
and Richard Gere.
And the dad from Frasier.
That I always thought.
Oh yeah, Mahoney. Yeah.
Primal Fear is a movie that Richard Gere thought he was the lead to until Ed Norton outacted him every single time they were on the screen together.
Well, Ed Norton, that was the beginning of great things for him. He's probably in arguably my top 10. I really do like Ed Norton movies.
Yeah, he's a great
He's been
actor.
in a lot of really great ones.
It's hard to find a bad Ed Norton movie.
Incredible
It's true.
Hulk.
No,
Even that was okay.
he was a better banner than Mark Ruffalo. I'm throwing that down.
I like Mark Ruffalo, but I think Edward Norton was a better banner. Is that? I don't know how that coexists, but it does. Mark Ruffalo's charming.
That's fine, but he had that quiet intensity that you want from Bruce Banner, that guy right on the edge of I don't really know about this guy.
Sure. Number 5 is a movie called The Quest. That is a Jean-Claude Van Damme action movie.
Pass.
I'm sure J.A. had that on VHS.
That was you rented that at the Blockbuster.
Number 4, The Craft.
Oh, that was a good one. Those Dark
that
Witch
movie
girls.
rips.
That has a great cover version of How Soon Is Now.
Yeah, that movie really set up my love of emo scene girls in the early 2000s. So thank you to The Craft for all your service. The
Craft
Truth
service.
About Cats and Dogs. Craft service. Number 3, The Truth About Cats and Dogs, the Uma Thurman, Janine Garofalo romantic comedy with, I think, Ben Chaplin?
I remember one more cool thing about The Craft. Robert Tunney had to wear a wig through the whole movie because she shaved her head in Empire Records, which films right before The Craft.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, see how the moment anybody brings up Janine Garofalo, you change the subject.
It sucks too. I like her whenever I see her in a movie. I am actually kind of shocked she didn't have a bigger career. But number 2 on this list, one of my favorite movies of all time, directed by Brian De Palma, Mission Impossible.
Oh, the original. All the Dutch angles.
The diopter shots. Hell yeah.
With the book we're talking about this week, because there are a lot of this similar framing. So many Dutch angles. And
a lot of people think the scene where he comes down from the ceiling and catches the sweat and everything. That one's the big scene. I still can't get over the end when he's on the top of the train and the helicopter comes and almost cuts his head off and
oh, it's so good.
That was okay, I can breathe. I can exhale here. This
I've
is crazy.
probably watched Mission Impossible 10 times this year. That's one of my favorite movies to fall asleep to. I absolutely adore it. Number 1 at the box office, absolutely crushing all competition, Twister.
Oh yes, that was massive.
Hunt. Bill Paxton in there?
Yeah.
Bill Paxton, not Bill Pullman. Bill Paxton.
And don't forget about the cow.
Oh yes, the cow
Yeah.
and the tire that's actually not in the film. It was in the trailer. Tire comes at the screen. That scene's not in the film.
Carrie Yules and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Phil and Seymour Hoffman playing a sort of hippie dude.
Just hyped up nerd guy, yeah.
And they
Also eventually showed up the Mission Impossible movies.
Twister had no business being good, but it was good. I saw it at least twice.
Number 5 on Billboard's Hot 100 is Ironic by Alanis Morissette.
A little too ironic.
Which, ironically, it has nothing to do with irony.
Yeah, Rain on Your Wedding Day, unfortunate, not ironic. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a great song off of an album. Everybody had it, and I think I listened to it 1,000 times.
Ruined Dave Coulier.
Really did. Not my favorite song off of that. That's You Learn. I love You Learn. Is arguably my favorite song. But the Ironic had that great music video with the 4 Alanis Morissettes in the car. That was clutch.
The original Haim sisters was those 4 in the car. Number 4 on Billboard's Hot 100 is Nobody Knows by the Tony Rich Project.
And I'm crying inside, and nobody knows it but me.
Andrew's having flashbacks to high school.
Yeah,
that's right.
Dancing awkwardly in the gym.
Was that your first time slow dancing?
I was going to say.
Was to the song?
Dancing awkwardly, you mean crying looking in the mirror?
Crying awkwardly.
Oh, man. 2 mixtapes at least this ended up on for some ladies that I was courting back in ye days.
I wonder if this next song also made it onto a mixtape by you. Song number 3 is Because You Love Me by Celine Dion.
This is from a movie, right? This is from Up Close and Personal.
Yeah.
Up Close and Personal with Robert Redford and Michelle Pfeiffer.
I can't imagine J.A. more checked out than he is right now. Maybe song number 2 on Billboard's Hot 100 will bring him back. This might be my favorite song on this top 5. It is The Crossroads by Bone Thugs and Harmony. That song rips. That song is so good. Number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 for May, Always Be My Baby by Mariah Carey.
These are all
just banger factory. May 1996 was a banger factory. All right, that was your top 5 for May 11th, 1996. Pretty solid list of 5 songs.
Yeah, for sure.
A little eclectic, too. Nice that it's not just all one genre.
What do you mean for sure, Andy? You were transported back to 1996 for the last
I've never
3
seen
minutes as we were
big
listening
dad energy on this podcast so much so than at those moments.
Driving in my car for the first time, going on dates for the first time, taking girls to the movies, going to see Twister. Come on now. That was all those ye days, man.
Hell yeah. I'm going to burn through the TV shows that premiered in 1996 extremely quickly. Like, I don't think a lot of these have like a big, deep conversation. I just think it's like an impressive list of shows. So I'm going to go from the live action shows that premiered in 96 into the cartoons that premiered in 96.
Okay.
Third Rock from the Sun, Seventh Heaven, The Daily Show, The Dana Carvey Show, E! True Hollywood Story, The Jamie Foxx Show, Moesha, Rosie O'Donnell, The RuPaul Show, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Spin City.
Wow.
So like half of those shows are named after somebody.
Yeah.
The Somebody Show. The Somebody Show.
A lot of star power there, yeah.
But that was back in the day when Craig Kilborn was on The Daily Show. And we all thought that nobody would be better on The Daily Show than Craig Kilborn. Like, he was rocking it. My goodness. I was like, I couldn't wait to watch Craig Kilborn on The Daily Show. And then he was leaving and they were going to bring in this other guy, Jon Stewart. Who the heck is this guy?
What?
I don't know.
What are you saying? Jon Stewart had a show on MTV. He had The State before they were The State doing sketch comedy on his show. Jon Stewart, who would hang out with Janine Garofalo all the time. I was always surprised she didn't have more Daily
Again,
Show. Right.
Anytime her name brought up, just moving in the opposite direction. Spin City, great show. Love that show too.
I remember that. The cartoons that premiered in 1996. Holy smokes. Action League Now, which means a lot to me because that was like the segment on Nickelodeon where it was like the action figures, random non-denominational action figures who were brought together with like a Nick Fury like leader. It was part of the show called Kablam, which was like a shorts show for kids. Absolutely loved it. The ambiguously gay duo.
Ace and Gary.
Oh yeah,
like the Robert Smigel stuff, right?
Voiced by Stephen Carell and Stephen Colbert.
Yeah. Transformers Beast Wars.
Which evidently is really good from a lore perspective. Folks that are real Transformer heads, they like swear by that. It has terrible early computer animation, but they lore dump on you all the time about the
For sure they do, yeah.
Optimus Primal.
Blue's Clues, Dexter's Laboratory, Hey Arnold, the Incredible Hulk cartoon that was like kind of tied into like the Spider-Man and X-Men and all that stuff.
No, that was on the other channel.
It was more Iron Man and Fantastic
Sure, but it was
Four.
yes, but it was like same animation style, I guess is what I'm saying.
I guess,
Yeah.
to a certain degree.
And then finally Superman the animated series.
Hell yes. That was a show that I actually set my VCR to tape. Even though I wasn't a huge fan of Superman at the time, like I was like, this has to be good. And it turns out it really was.
It's really good. Let's see, comics from this month, from May 1996. Marvel, for whatever reason, wasn't distributed by Diamond that month. I think this is when they were going through some bankruptcy problems.
This is before that. They bought their own distributor.
No, they bought their own. Okay.
Oh, right, because they had all that money that I was investing in the company before they freaking declared bankruptcy, and I lost all that money, and now they're I'm so angry. I'm so angry.
I'm looking for the week that Kingdom Come came out. I was able to find the Marvel books. Honestly, nothing significant. Uncanny X-Men 334, which is like kind of the beginning of the Onslaught saga. Let's see, Captain America 453, which I think was like the Ron Garney, Mark Waid.
That's the tail end right before
the
that
reboot,
ended.
right? But this month was when we got Avengers 400 and Thor 500. So just like some milestone issues for those series.
Right.
I did enjoy the Thor at that time. The Warren Ellis and Mike Deodato Thor. That was good stuff.
I don't know why we skipped over talking about that Mark Waid, Ron Gardner run on Captain America. That's some of the best. That's like,
That's good. Yeah.
That's a secret honey hole that people don't realize is out there. And if you haven't read it, you definitely should. It's equally as good as a lot of the other Captain America runs that are above.
It's also just like some of the better like Mark Waid stuff. And like I say that as someone who loves Mark Waid.
Came back to it a little bit with his run with Chris Samnee. I think he came back, but I think it was like a reunion tour of such. That's like the original OG albums. Those are you got to get that stuff. And then
those are those significant Marvel books. The top 10. Wildcats 30, number 9, Witchblade 6, number 8, She, The Way of the Warrior 9, number 7, Batman 532, which is like is it Doug Munch? Is that how you pronounce his name? And Kelly Jones?
Yeah, those Kelly Jones covers are always so dark and beautiful.
Number 6, Lady Death, The Odyssey, issue 3. Number 5, a book I actually think I was reading at the time, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, issue 6. You always talk about how important licensed comics are, and those Star Wars comics were really what got me reading comics.
Shadow of the Empire was fun. That was back in the day when people were starting to give a shit about Star Wars again. So like they were like, let's do this thing and put out a game for the N64 and a book and all this. It was a fun time to be a Star Wars fan because you were so hungry. You were hungry for Star Wars, and they were finally giving it back to you.
Number 4 is Medieval Spawn and Witchblade, issue 2. Number 3, a book I actually just bought, and I'm very excited to read it, is Gen 13, issue 11. Number 1 is Spawn, issue 50, and that makes number 2, Kingdom Come, issue number 1.
Wow!
Yeah.
So among that rarefied air of things that involve Witchblade, because I mean, we all knew why I was even buying Witchblade at the time. Not gonna lie, there were other reasons why I was buying Witchblade.
No, you bought it for the articles, right? Yeah,
I did, right? Yeah, just like Gen 13. I was reading those books because I was a connoisseur of fine literature. But no, it's amazing that like Kingdom Come is second to that Spawn book. What even happens in that Spawn book? Does anyone have a beat on that before we go to commercial break?
It was issue 50, man. It was the anniversary issue, right?
Yeah, I never made it past when Todd McFarlane went out of order on issues and then stopped drawing the book.
I've tried to. They have the Spawn Origin collections on Hoopla, and every year I'm like, there's nothing to do. I'm caught up on all my books. Like maybe now I'll read it. I'm just like, God, this is such a slog, man. Like I know I should read it just to keep my comic nerd credentials. But my favorite thing to do is read books I enjoy, and it's just really hard to do both of those things at the same time with Spawn,
I just want to know, when is that countdown going to wear out?
That's true. Well, I will say this. I'm going to throw it out to all the Last Comic Shop listeners out there. If you happen to know what happens in Spawn 50 and you want to leave us some comments and tell me if it's better than what happens in Kingdom Come issue 1, go right ahead. We're going to get to that issue as well as the other 3 involving Kingdom Come right after this commercial break. So thanks so much to George for giving us the movies, the music, the TV shows, and the comic books that graced our pop culture zeitgeist in May of 1996.
Thanks for context, George.
Anytime, Chad.
Stay tuned for more Last Comic Shop right after this.
BCWSupplies.com has everything a comic collector could need. Boards, bags, long boxes, and so much else for our ever so increasing collections. And you can save 10% on your total order by using promo code LCSPOD at checkout. Not only does this take 10% off BCW Supplies' already low prices, but it supports my favorite podcast, The Last Comic Shop. So get all your collecting gear at bcwsupplies.com and save 10% on your order with promo code LCSPOD at checkout. That's LCSPOD at checkout. Happy hunting!
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, maybe I should see what that Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage since you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode we take a look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that source material. So whether you know the comics and want to know how all those games work, or you know the games and want to find out where all this craziness came from, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we're here to talk about 1996's finest, at least almost compared to Spawn 50. We're talking about Kingdom Come, the 4-issue Prestige Elseworlds miniseries. And Mr. J.A., can you tell us about the creators involved in this process?
Well, of course I can. It was written by Mark Waid with incredible gouache art by Alex Ross. And letters.
Time out. Hold on. What is gouache? You got to tell everybody what's the definition.
It's what Alex Ross looks like. It's not quite watercolor, but it's not quite a real paint. It comes out in the gouache.
It does. And if it's done badly, it's just gauche.
Seriously, what is it?
Okay, gouache is a opaque watercolor consisting of natural pigments, waters, and a binding agent, usually gum arabic or dextrin, and sometimes additional inert material. It is designed to be opaque and has a long history of being used for at least 12 centuries.
Well, there you go. Who did the letters? I interrupted you.
Todd Klein.
Good old Todd Klein. All right. So Alex Ross and Mark Waid and Todd Klein did this.
There you go. And it's worth noting that the original idea was an Alex Ross idea that he then co-plotted with Mark Waid. So I know Mark Waid in later years had regretted that Alex Ross doesn't get enough credit for story ideas. But Mr. Andrew, you are in charge of our 10-cent synopsisizing, so it's your dime, buddy.
Oh, that's right. And you know what? I'm going to try to keep this fair and honest. I'm not going to show any bias in this 10-cent synopsis. I'm going to try to keep to the facts. And the facts are that this happens sometime in the future where basically a lot of the DC characters that you know and love, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they've aged. They've aged into their senior citizen years, and they've been replaced by the new freshness, the new generations of superheroes that would have come after them. Because, to be honest, something we never think about, but we should. The fact that superheroes do eventually have kids, and they become superheroes, and then they maybe have kids, and then so it can't, like rabbits.
Superhero Nepo babies.
That's right. But ironically, none of the Nepo babies you know actually make the cut outside of Dick Grayson. All the rest of those guys are dead.
Well, I mean, Wally West is there. Yeah.
Is Wally there? I missed Wally.
Yeah, Wally's
he's still the Flash. Oh, okay.
He's the Flash, yeah.
He's the zoomy Flash. Okay.
Lo and behold, this whole thing sets up potentially a crisis here on Earth, where the Spectre finds this preacher guy, and not the preacher, and he's like, this might be the end times, the ends of the world. I'm going to show you what might happen. And as a result of an incident that occurred with the Joker and Lois Lane getting killed, Superman decides to retire from superheroing, and he's replaced by the new freshness, edginess, Magog. He's puttering around and whatever, and he's coaxed back out of retirement by Wonder Woman, who's like, we got to set things right. Like, there's a big explosion that happens in Kansas. We got to set it.
By big explosion, you mean that Parasite ripped open Captain Atom and killed a million people?
Yes.
Well, I mean, a million people died, not just, that's more than a big explosion.
Yes. I'm trying to keep it to the dime. And so he says, all right, we'll do that. We'll start rounding up all the superheroes that don't play nice, and we'll put them in a prison. Batman's like, I don't agree with this. Batman teams up with some supervillains. Will ultimately the end times come? Will Superman punch Shazam? It all comes out in Kingdom Come. And I'm not going to, again, talk too much about the overall plot tonight. I think you should read it. My initial thought is just simply put that this is a very well-known comic book. I think the art is fairly beautiful. And from my own personal perspective, there was some dark times in the late 90s, early 2000s, for me as a comic book fan. I wasn't really reading a lot of comic books. I kind of got jaded by the Clone Saga and the fact that I was dating girls and I didn't have a lot of time for comic books. And I was like, comic books are crap anyways. I didn't read this one originally when it was on the stands, but like in 2000, when they started putting this out in trades, I picked it up on a whim. And I said, oh gosh, wow, comic books are still good. You know what? They are still good. They are still worthwhile. Maybe I should go back and read some other comic books. So thank you to Kingdom Come for bringing me back from the precipice. Otherwise, I may not have given a shit.
Did you say, oh, gouache?
I didn't. And I know that my buddy Chad here is going to have some comments, and I think I'll close by saying that one thing that I hope that we can stay true to on this show is talking about Kingdom Come and not talking about the imitators that may have come out of Kingdom Come. I think we talked about that on our Jessica Jones show a couple weeks back, where some folks took the wrong lessons from Kingdom Come, and they did. Like Zack Snyder took the wrong lessons from Kingdom Come. A lot of folks took the wrong lessons from Kingdom Come. But Kingdom Come on itself is a pretty decent story, and I will hang my hat on that.
No,
I don't.
No, I disagree with those things you just said. No, it's not a good story.
Okay, it's not
do you want me to go next, or do you guys want to build it up more?
J.A., would you like to go before this freight train comes down the track?
No, it's okay. I will watch the train go by and gleefully stack pennies on the rails.
All right, there's so many things I don't understand with this book. Right now, I get it's Elseworlds and they're playing fast and loose, and then that tracks, I guess. But then when Superman's like, I don't agree with what they're doing, he gathers up all the heroes and puts them in. No, it's not the Hall of Justice. What's the other one?
Hall of Doom.
I think it is called the Hall of Doom. I don't think
I thought it was the Fortress of Doom.
Well, it's the Legion of Doom. I don't even know if it really there's an alligator that sits outside. I remember that in every single episode.
Okay. But so, yeah, he puts all of the superheroes against their will into the Legion of Doom's headquarters. Because that's a thing Superman would do. And then Superman tells all the governments that, no, we're going to be in charge and everyone's going to follow our lead or else. So here's my basic premise. And like this, you can take umbrage with. That's fine. I get it. But what I don't like about Kingdom Come is a very well rendered 90s parody piece that plays Where's Waldo with DC references. And if you look at it like that, it's great. It's good stuff. Kingdom Come is Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, which ironically is the only other book I've read that makes reference to Jimmy Olsen as Turtle Boy, right? Only instead of a million gags a minute, it's just a million. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Marvin from Super Friends is drunk. Great. Oh, look, there's Steve Miller from the Joker cover. He's a space cowboy. But the story itself is garbage. It's the fact that this is revered, that people will bring this up as like a top 10 DC book, or this is something that any DC fan needs to read, because at the end of the day, like, the character designs are grotesque. And I get Magog was supposed to be their takeoff of Rob Liefeld and Cable. And then ironically, Alex Ross was like, yeah, actually, that was the one design I liked best. They're taking shots at my guy Liefeld. But in doing so, they actually made the most memorable part of this thing.
Were they trying to be ironic with the name Magog? Because it's just a horrible name.
Well, it's actually, I read about this too. That was like a tribe of people who were fighting against God in Old Testament stuff. So like that was a very specific name.
Okay, so okay.
And that brings me to my final point I'll say, I guess. This is Mark Waid being bitter about things. And like, instead of being Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, that tells this story that's, a nothing burger, but has a bajillion jokes and like explores all the fun continuity of the DCU and has fun with it. This takes all that joy and replaces it with Bible quotes and passes it off as seriousness. Like, you could not have a less for me story, especially when, in my mind, seeing this as Alex Ross's second big work, the other one is Marvel's. Marvel's takes this Alex Ross guy who does these photorealistic heroes and uses it to ground the Marvel universe and tell the story through the eyes of the people there. And that makes sense. Having Alex Ross paint a Where's Waldo of DC continuity and be like, oh no, but it's like the Bible. You. There's so much about it that doesn't make sense. You've got Superman putting people in the gulag. And it's a Zack Snyder movie where some of the scenes look real pretty, but just remember, they're beating up Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, while Marvin from Super Friends is getting drunk behind the lizard people and characters from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like, there's nothing to it, man.
That's certainly one take, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it at all.
No, not at all. But
all right, go ahead.
All right. Well, I mean, you have some valid points there, Chad. And I'm not going to go on record by saying the Kingdom Come is the absolute greatest comic ever. I think it's a comic book that everybody should read if you're interested in comic books, just because it's readily available and it's got interesting art and it has all the main characters of the DC universe. So you kind of get a good sense of everything that's been going on. But the reason why I like this book is because it's telling a classic Superman story that we keep going back to, which is the idea that Superman is in essence both a god from Krypton and a man from Earth. And what happens when he's losing the man part and just starts thinking himself as the super part, the god part from Krypton. So that's an idea that has been played with ever since, like whether it's with the Injustice video games, the comic book series that you really like, Chad, or again the Zack Snyder, which is taking the wrong lessons from this, or even the more recent James Gunn movie where we're talking about Krypton and Kryptonians being gods and what happens if they lord over us and how that feels icky. You're supposed to not like Superman because he's acting not like Superman. He's acting like the edgy, harder 90s, kill first, ask questions later heroes that were permeating a lot of the other comic books. And we don't like that. We don't like a Superman that locks people up in gulags. We don't like a Superman that throws his weight around like that. And so Mark Waid has always done a really good job of reminding you why you like characters. And he does this in reverse psychology, whereby giving you a Superman that you don't like. And then by the end being like, oh yeah, no, here he is. He's no longer Cal. He's back to being Clark. He's wearing the glasses, whatever. This is the Superman that is one of the people and we like him that way. And so I think it does a good job with that.
Unlike Chad, I had an opposite effect. I thought the art, it wore on me. It was like heavy lifting. The story was all right. It wasn't great, wasn't bad. But 4 issues of the Alex Ross art, it was draining to look at times. I think of Marvel's, and what I thought I liked about Marvel's was there were 4 issues again, but each issue was its own sort of self-contained story. And so you felt like you had a breather after every issue, but this was just one long 4-issue story. And so I felt like I had no time to breathe or relax with it. And the art was heavy. It was hard for me to get through it. There was so much to unpack, so much in the scenes. It was almost too much information overload. And I started nitpicking, which I hate to do. Is like, I'm sick of Gregory Peck Batman. Or can he show us a panel that isn't shot from a low angle? Here's another low angle. Oh, here's another Dutch angle. Enough. Give us something a little bit less dramatic. Everything was dramatic. And so I struggled with the art, which is something I didn't think I would do, because Alex Ross is an incredible artist, but I just found it to be heavy lifting.
I think the first thing to remember is that it is an Elseworlds story. So like you have to be able to give it a little bit more leeway than you do a main continuity, right? Because like the whole point of this isn't that it's going to exist in perpetuity, even though God damn, do they reference this book a lot in other comics. But in theory, it was only supposed to be a prestige 4-issue miniseries. You said that like Superman does the stuff that's out of character. I'm like, yeah, that was actually the whole point, was that he got out of character. That's why the world went to shit, is because he stopped being Superman. Like that was the entire point of the 4th issue, right? Where they were talking about how like Shazam is actually the best of us because he's the only one who's been a god and a man. Like he's the only one who can actually determine what we deserve because he's walked in both worlds. And so like because of stuff like that, I have no problem with the stuff that feels out of character. You're seeing a world gone wrong, and really it's a puzzle trying to understand why the world went wrong. I remember being really intimidated by it when I was a kid, because when I first started reading comics, I think I talked about this before. I talked about this on the Secret Wars episode, where I would just like go to Borders and I would just like look. I'm like, oh damn, that book looks important. And Kingdom Come, because of the art, was one of those books that looked important. I think this book is like, if you're teaching a curriculum on comics, this book has to get like a 2-week section, right? Like a module in that class. I think it's critically important. I don't understand how like you could love The Dark Knight Returns and not like this book, because I think they're functionally the same thing. It's just like, this is Superman's Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
I guess the problem is the Dark Knight from Frank Miller rescued a character, redefined Batman. This just made superheroes look like crap. Just so you know, I didn't hate everything about Kingdom Come. I like Green Lantern gets a sword. That's fun. Like, forget the boxing gloves. He's got a green sword. Blurry Flash was cool. He's like Bigfoot. He's just blurry.
Why did he have the old school Flash headset thing? That I didn't get.
That I think is just an Alex Ross flourish trying to make them look more godlike.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Mercury helmet.
What does everybody think of the helmet?
The Jay Garrick helmet?
Yeah, the Jay Garrick helmet. Are we yay or nay on that? I think it's a little garish.
I think it's a little garish. I think it's garish as well. It's a hubcap with wings that he's put on his head. I think a lot of Alex Ross's art, because he's using models and stuff, it looks like it's frozen in time. There's not a lot of kinetic energy to it or action.
No, it looks like a paused movie.
Yeah.
That was there in Marvels too. But because the Marvel story was told in that grounded perspective, and you're watching this from the human's point of view.
It's also told from a photographer's point of view. So
right, it is like those moments are frozen, and that matches. That's a feature, not a bug. Here, it's all these action sequences that are.
What I think is really interesting about Kingdom Come, though, is that like it was supposed to be like this one-off idea, right? Like it was just like, here's a potential future, here's where superheroes lost their way, Superman had a crisis of faith, crisis of conscience, fell apart, and then like the world went to shit because of it, right? Really, Chad, I think you mentioned this, Jay, Andy, I think you all mentioned this, about how it was like a commentary on the 90s and how extreme and radical and just intense the 90s were getting. And this is just like, God, we hate this. Let's make a story about how much this sucks and how it's better to be better. Man, they go back to the well all the time on this story. Like Mark Waid just did it recently in The World's Finest book that he's currently writing for DC, where like they came across a world that had like a young Magog as he was like getting started. Magog, I think, joined the JSA in like the Jeff Johns and then eventually I think James Robinson JSA book that started in 2009, like post-crisis books.
Was the writer who he originally pitched to do Kingdom Come with in the first place was James Robinson?
I think he said he wanted to, and then was just like, oh, this feels too similar to, was it the Golden Age?
Yep.
But no, I just think it's funny that like this was supposed to be like this big important moment, just saying like, oh man, everything sucks about the 90s. Let's make a book about that. And then it just became like the next kind of sellout story idea for DC, where it is like the closest to like Age of Apocalypse, I guess, that DC's ever gotten, where it's just like a future gone wrong. And
It didn't Mark Waid do that hand in Age of Apocalypse?
Yeah. That feels right. I mean, that was 95, so that was like just before this too, right?
I also thought, now that we're talking about Age of Apocalypse and mutants, like this book was another one that made me start thinking about the metagene in DC, because they talk about it a lot in Kingdom Come. And it's always been a weird concept to me, because you've got this metagene, and I think it first appeared in the mid-'80s as part of the Invasion storyline. This is just a question. Isn't the metagene the same as being like a mutant in Marvel?
I always took it to be that DC looked across the aisle and was like, wow, man, those X books are just selling like hotcakes. How do we get some of that action?
Well, but thing is with the metagene though, like none of these folks are like looked down on. They're still like in the DC universe as elevated as gods. But at the same time, like they are eradicated, because whether it's on Age of Apocalypse, whether it's this book, you know, what they did after No More Mutants in the 2000s, like sooner or later, you just get too many superhero characters and you just have to do a clean slate. And you just have to wipe them all clean. And so I think it's weird that like there's so many parallels between this book and again, what they do over in other books with mutants.
For sure. No, it is. What I was saying though is just like, this is supposed to be like a one-off commentary about the 90s. This book, I think, is critically important. I understand like the frustrating parts of it that we've all expressed, some of us more than others. But I don't understand how you could have like a modern DC publisher without this book. Like this really did feel like DC throwing down the gauntlet and just like doing it again. Like they had The Dark Knight, they had Watchmen, like they were the company that was pushing books forward. And like Marvel's is, I think, incredible, but like that's looking to the past. And I think DC did such a better job of looking to the future until like we just talked about Age of Apocalypse. I think was like a really interesting, just like them canceling all the X-Men books just to do this alternate world. I'm like, that's so brave. That's so cool. But the way DC constantly has an eye on the future, it's so good. This book has to be taught in your next comic class, Professor Larson.
Well, let's look to the future with our ratings and recommendation section. So stay tuned for more Last Comic Shop right after this commercial break as we wrap up this week's show.
Hello, friends. Do you like the 80s and Transformers? We are the Autopod Decepticast, and we started our podcast doing a minute-by-minute breakdown of the 1986 classic animated feature Transformers the Movie. We've since moved on to an episode-by-episode review of the G1 series and just started Season 3. We have over 180 episodes, so if you're just discovering our show, there's plenty of gold to stuff into your ears, and it is very funny and fantastic. I'm not biased. We are on every podcast aggregator you could possibly stomach: Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and our web presence is autopoddecepticast.com. We are at APodDcast on Twitter and all of the things. Autopod Decepticast, friends, for all your animated Transformer needs.
All right, we're back with more Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for ratings, where we hope that you eventually get your own restaurant filled with characters dressed up like you. That was weird. The Booster Gold restaurant, I will say, even to this, I get it, why it's there, but it was...
The thing that I didn't get was why Batman would want a well-done steak. You would think that Batman would like it rare.
Yeah, he would know how to eat steak, not burnt to a crisp.
It's more nutritional. It's better for you when it's well done.
He was a child of the Depression. Let's get our rating scale from Jay Scott. Jay, what are we rating it this week?
Well, we talked a lot about this book, mostly around the story. Everyone just said the art was great. I put out that it was heavy lifting for me. But not enough was said about the fact that it was gouache. And I was expecting to have all of these comments and jokes about washcloths or the gouache basin. Let's gouache our hands of everything. Because it's just a fun word to say. So we're going to go 1 out of 4 gouache cloths.
Well, why don't you start off with the gouache cloth?
Yeah, it reminded me a bit of Marvel's. I think that's just the Alex Ross art, painting superheroes very much up on pedestals and the angles he takes and everything. As I said in my initial comments, sometimes it got so much. It was very heavy. But when it worked, it was incredible. And there's some single and double page spreads that are just works of art. They're just beautiful. The story was okay. I didn't mind the story. I didn't have as much of a problem with it as Chad did. I got it that it was in Elseworlds, and it was interesting to explore how these characters would react to certain things. That's not to say that I agreed with all of the takes that they had. I thought that Wonder Woman was the most problematic, where she sort of changed her personality based on the story to fit the story more than anything else, where Superman and Batman had more defined arcs that made sense. I really liked the Billy Batson stuff. I thought that Magog, for someone who kicked this whole thing off, was then thrown to the side of the road a bit, and I was interested to learn more about him, especially when I read some of the back matter and found out that he was created for this. So I think it is an important piece of work, and people should read it. I don't know if I put it up on the same pedestal as Dark Knight Returns or even the Marvels, though they're very different books. Just because they both have Alex Ross, I think they get thrown together a lot, but I think they're very different books. They're telling very different stories. As you said, one is looking forward, the other one is looking back. So for me, it's a 3.25 gouache cloths.
All right, George, you're up next.
I don't think you can have a conversation about modern comics without bringing up Kingdom Come and what it did to the industry. I would probably give it 3.5 out of 4. I like how weird it is, but there are also times where, like, I'll just look at Green Lantern and I'm like, ugh. But then there's other times I look at it, I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, with this Emerald City floating above the sky. Seeing Flash just become, like, light, I'm just like, oh, that's so dumb. And then, like, I look at him, like, running all throughout Central City, wherever he is, I'm just like, this is so cool, man. Every time I think I'm frustrated by something in this book, I just take a step back. I'm like, no, this shit rips. Like, this is just like a good, cool comic that, like, should be talked about. Just as relevant today as it was 30 years ago. I think it's great. 3.5 out of 4.
I'll go next. I'm going to give this a 4, but I'm going to give it a 4 for the similar reason I think that George gave Jessica Jones a 4 previously, which is like, this may not be everybody's cup of tea. This may not be the best, but I give this a 4 because this is a book that I highly recommend people read. Again, whether or not you end up enjoying Kingdom Come, I really hope you do. I did. I mean, it brought me back from the precipice of not being involved with comics books anymore, in my 20s. I really enjoyed it. I thought it actually reminded me of just like all the characters in the DC universe and kind of how cool they were. It started my progression towards a more rounded Superman. Before that, I just thought Superman was like eating pie and saluting the flag and like kind of boring and white bread and not really interesting. And so this gave a complexity to the character that I had not seen. Like, he can make mistakes, and actually huge ones, and actually not be the one that ultimately fixes things. It's Captain Marvel that fixes things. It's that preacher guy that fixes things. He just happens to be the guy that is there and people will listen to, and finally he gets good advice and makes good with it. But it just reminded me that all these characters really existed. And now the more that I read it, I just like looking for the Easter eggs. I was not a huge DC guy growing up, so like I didn't know a lot about, it just happens that Mr. Miracle was the guy that built the prison. And I like the end where they have all the pictures of the people, and you're seeing whose kid was who, even though they don't show up very often. You're like, oh, that kid's that kid, and that kid's that person's kid, and this and that. So that's all neat. So I think it's a 4. The art's good. Mark Waid is a really good writer, in my opinion. It's not my favorite Mark Waid book by any means, and it is kind of a ripoff of a Mark Grunwald book that I'll give in my recommendation. But it's still like a book that you should read. So, Chad, wrap us up.
275. No, Andy, you brought up earlier Injustice. And I don't know if you know the thing I've said about Injustice every time we've talked about it. It's the book that shouldn't work, but it does because of the Tom Taylor. Like, Tom Taylor understands the essence of those DC characters and really pulls that through that story, that even though you have certain characters acting out of order, there's enough of stuff in there that feels right, that it lifts that story above the parts of it that shouldn't work. The reason why I get so up in arms, and I feel bad because I was hyper negative in this episode, to me, Alex Snyder is Zach Ross here. He is great at a visual homage. He's stylistically impressive. That gouache, it's hard to beat a nice gouache. And I do recommend, if you're going to read Kingdom Come, track down the old Wizard Millennium Edition, Alex Ross special. It has all the member berries in there. You know, breaks it down, and there's lots of other cool Alex Ross stuff in here, but you could look and see, like, oh, look, DC staffers that are there. There's Bjorn, who appears twice.
The Icelandic singer?
Yeah. That's the fun part about this book, is playing Where's Waldo. The rest of it is kind of shallow and bankrupt as far as storytelling goes. The biggest downside, and the thing that, like, I'm not just mad, I'm disappointed, is that Mark Waid, like, I always had Mark Waid, if not on Tom Taylor's level, miles above Tom Taylor. Mark Waid doesn't save this. This is just an okay book. It's a 275.
Well, here's something that we say for the end of every single episode, and that's recommendations. So if you are going out to your local comic book shop, bookstore, gosh knows, any place, probably find a copy of Kingdom Come. Again, it's one of DC's like keystone books now. Like, you can pick it up anywhere. And so there's a lot of different varieties, especially that new compact edition. Super easy to take on a plane if you're traveling. I love taking those books on planes. Those are the best for travel. Let's go ahead and start off with George. George, what's your recommendation this week?
I love the idea of a companion piece between Marvel and DC. I talked about this on the show before. I love Secret Wars because I get to read In Crisis on Infinite Earths right after. I like Kingdom Come because I get to read Marvels right after. So I'm going to pick Marvels as my recommendation. Alluded to it a little bit earlier. Kingdom Come, looking to the future. Marvels, looking to the past. I think both are beautiful stories, and both should be on anyone's bookshelf. So please check out Marvels by Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross and learn all about Phil Sheldon and what it's like to be another person in the Marvel universe.
And throw casual shade at Peter Parker for being a shill.
Yeah, you can do that. That's fair. Also, the Silver Surfer stuff, like the Galactus in that book, is just incredible. Absolutely stunning.
Oh, that sad little mutant girl.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that breaks my heart every single time, that episode about the mutant girl. Again, they're metahumans, right? Like, they should be on pedestals that had rocks thrown at. Oh.
I mean, that's a story Marvel needs to say. It's like the X-Men are the mutants with the cool mutant powers, but there's a bunch of mutants that have, like, pointless mutant powers.
Their metagene is they can do your taxes from the year 1997 better than anybody.
Oh, dude, that's the book I've wanted to write for Marvel. I'm like keeping that as just like the non-field team mutants, you know.
Oh,
yes!
There's that one. There's a great one done by what's the guy's name?
Max Bemis.
Worst X-Man ever. So if you've ever want to read something about a really crap power, the worst.
I'll check it out.
So, but yeah, Chad, what do you got for us?
So I've been so negative this whole show. So I'm going Marvel with my recommendation. I'm going to go Weapon X-Men, which was a 5-issue miniseries about the future. And it starts off with Cable, who they tried to parody in Kingdom Come. And Cable's like, we got to put this team together to save things. And then issue 2, it's all about, oh, we've seen the future. Where the team's coming together. Oh, we're getting these headquarters. And issue 3 and 4, they go on this brand new mission. Oh, the team is happening. The team is happening. And then issue 5 is the last issue that's done. Apparently, they didn't see the future well enough to know how bad sales would be. And so, this book, though, was over the top and more than its share of violence, but it had a lot of fun with it. It had Cable, it had Deadpool, it had Wolverine, Chamber, and they brought back the original James Proudstar. I thought it was Warpath. It was Thunderbird in this book, and he goes through his own series here. It actually was a really fun book. Joe Casey wrote a crisscross on art. I'm hoping Marvel sees the error of their ways and somehow gets their X-Office together and we see more Weapon X-Men, because everything was building, and then issue 5 happened. It's like, oh yeah, wait, no, it's done now.
They canceled it after issue 2. I still don't understand how you could do that in good conscience. I was frustrated by that book because the first issue was billed as like a One World Under Doom tie-in. Like, they were in Latveria for 4 minutes, and that was the only tie-in to One World Under Doom, and then it very quickly became a not One World Under Doom tie-in.
The sky was red in a panel.
That's
basically,
right.
Yeah, man, I was so frustrated.
Well, that's similar to my connection between this and Kingdom Come, is that issue 1 has that killer Alex Ross cover. So there you go.
All right, J.A., what do you got for us this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to recommend some DC and more Superman. And this is something that I didn't know was a thing, and now I'm very intrigued. It's Superman Red and Blue, and this follows on the heels of DC's iconic Eisner Award-winning Batman Black and White, which I also didn't know was a thing. But these are like compendium collections of short stories, and the blue and red one, all the art is only blue and red.
With Red and Blue, that was a really cool book. You've got Daniel Warren Johnson's stories, and then you've got some short stories that, pull at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
I have one of the issues that has a Walt Simonson cover, and it's the homage of Beta Ray Bill, but with Superman. Like, oh, it's so badass. That's a great pick, Jay.
Thank you. So you have no problem reading that at all?
No, that's good, I think.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap things up by recommending the book that, to be honest, Kingdom Come is based on. There was a 12-issue miniseries in the 1980s called Squadron Supreme. It was done by Mark Waid, and it was his baby. And it basically tells the exact same story that you get in Kingdom Come, except it uses all of those Marvel analog characters, like Hyperion instead of Superman, Nighthawk instead of Batman, the Golden Arrow instead of the Green Arrow, and Lady Lass instead of Black Canary. But it tells the story of like what happens if Hyperion and Power Princess and Squadron Supreme to say, hey, we can set up a utopia. We could take over the United States and solve everybody's problems. Let's do it. We have the power. We have the abilities. We have the good moral judgment. Let's do it. And Nighthawk's like, screw you guys. You can't do that. Because like that's what we fight against. That's taking away people's freedoms and whatever. So he leaves, and Hyperion, the Superman character, and Power Princess, they decide to set it up. But everything happens just like in Kingdom Come. They build a mind control machine to get rid of criminals' nasty thoughts, which ends up being abused. And at the end of the day, Nighthawk dies. Yeah, I'm spoiling it right now. The Batman character in this dies, and it's that actually makes Hyperion say, well, we've gone too far because we killed Batman. But it's great. It's absolutely great. And I don't know if it was this particular book, but I think it was. When Mark Waid passed away, in his will, he actually left instructions to be cremated and then to have his ashes spread into ink. And I think they actually printed some Squadron Supreme trades, something with his ashes. So it was his baby. It's actually a really good book. And if you don't like what they did with Kingdom Come because you like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and you think you got the characters wrong, then read Squadron Supreme, because who gives a shit about Hyperion? In any case, one thing we hope you give a shit about is more episodes of The Last Comic Shop, because we're going to be around for a really long time. We've only got done with 3 episodes here in season 6. We've got tons more to go as we wrap up the first month here. And make sure that you're rate, reviewing, and subscribing over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com so you don't miss any of them. We don't have any special wow events for February, but I will say in March, we are bringing back the Merry Marvel March Society. So we'll have 4 straight weeks of Marvel books for those folks that like the House of Ideas. So again, get on that subscribe train now. Make sure that you have your podcasting platform of choice picked over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com so you don't miss any of this.
And don't miss out on www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, where you can find links to things like our socials, find connections to YouTube, where our YouTube videos are housed. You can find connections to general shows. And then while we might be the Last Comic Shop podcast, we don't want to be the Last Comic Shop, so we encourage everybody to get out there. Go to your local comic shop. Get those books like Kingdom Come, like Marvels, like Superman Red and Blue, like Weapon X-Men, or like Squadron Supreme. And then circle back and maybe stop by the merch store. And what are we featuring today, J.A.?
We are featuring the Last Comic Shop podcast logo t-shirt, but the inside's all black.
So you can't see anything?
But, I mean, just like the background's black instead of green. I don't know. Our logo doesn't work so much as the Superman logo with the black. I was alluding to the fact that they blacked out this logo.
Okay. I was wondering where you were.
Yeah,
it just looked like a hole in your chest.
It made a lot more sense in my mind before I said it. Just wash our hands of it all.
And George, I mean, you have a tremendous podcast that folks can listen to and rate, review, and subscribe to as well. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find that everywhere?
Yeah, you can find that everywhere podcasts are sold. If you like that shtick at the beginning of this episode, breaking down the cultural context of what was going on when Kingdom Come came out, I do that pretty much every episode on my show. I've been going through basically Marvel in the mid-2000s. I think by the time this episode comes out, we should be in the middle of Civil War, which I'm gonna need to borrow some of you guys to get through all that, because holy hell, there's so many tie-ins. Oh my god. Ugh.
Well, and if you have a lot of those comic books from Civil War and you want to protect them, right? Chad, there's a great place where everybody can protect their comic books, right? You can get a lot of stuff from there.
That's right, Andy. You're referring to bcwsupplies.com, where you can use our promo code LCSPOD for 10% off your collectible supplies. That includes boxes, bags, boards, all sorts of other containers, sports cards, all sorts of memorabilia protection. That's at bcwsupplies.com, promo code LCSPOD. Get yourself 10% off your order and help support our podcast.
Yes, because if you're buying everything related to Civil War, you're going to need some boxes.
And some bags.
In case, what you're also going to need is to continue to listen to Last Comic Shop. And until next week, I was the host, Andy Larson. I was joined by Jay Scott and Chad Smith, as well as the wonderful George from Shortbox Summary. And we hope that you stay safe. Stay super. That's right. Superman was a character in this book. There you go. And remember that snowmen buy the entire bag of carrots because at the end of the day, they just want to pick their nose.
But I thought it was a corncob nose. No, corncob pipe
That's a
with a
pipe.
button nose.
Corncob pipe.
Button nose. Button
That's
nose.
just, it's
That's
cold.
just Frosty.
That's just Frosty.
The Last Comic Shop podcast was a 2026 Black Angus production.